Welcome back to another episode of the Life's Playbook podcast. This is episode 2 of my show. If you didn't get a chance to watch episode 1, it is still up on the official Spotify page and the official YouTube page. It is still up for you guys to watch. Feel free. I encourage you to watch the first episode. You don't want to miss out on what I had to say on the college football playoffs in that episode. If you didn't get all the way to the end of that video, don't worry. I pretty much said in episode 2, I was going to give a quick little recap of Week 16 in the NFL, as well as give my predictions on the NFL playoffs and who I think will be officially set in stone in your 2024 playoff season. With that being said, as always, the game never ends here at the Life's Playbook podcast. Sit down, buckle up, let's get into it, starting with the quick recap in Week 16, starting with the Thursday night game to open that week up. The Broncos taking on the Chargers at SoFi Stadium. Chargers get the job done there, 34-27. There were 2 Saturday games prior to Christmas. The Houston Texans at Kansas City and the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. The Chiefs get the job done there, 27-19. Tank Dell, the wide receiver 3 for the Houston Texans, went down that game with the gruesome knee injury from friendly fire. A Texans player hit the back of Tank Dell's knee rather gruesomely. Speedy recovery to Tank Dell as he looked so good that game. He had a good game, and he is an essential piece to the Texans offense, and that is a major loss for the Texans and could potentially come back to haunt them as they make their playoff run. Baltimore Ravens played the same day, getting the job done over the Pittsburgh Steelers and increasing their chances of becoming division champions and making the playoffs. The Ravens had beat them prior to that game. The Steelers had beaten the Ravens prior to that game. The Ravens get their get back on the Steelers, 34-17. Atlanta destroys the Giants, 34-6. This was Michael Penix Jr., the rookie, his first NFL debut. He absolutely dismantled the Giants. They're just playing for a higher draft pick in that number 1 draft pick. Michael Penix Jr. didn't play that bad. He did throw an interception, but he didn't play that bad. Obviously, he stepped in for Kirk. If you haven't heard, Kirk Cousins was benched moving into that game. He just looked terrible prior to that game. I think it was a smart move on the Falcons organization to move away from Kirk and move away from all that money and all of his turnover problems. I think it was a smart move by the Falcons to start your rookie and see what he has to offer and see if he can lead your team to make a deep playoff run, if not win the division. They get the job done 34-7 against the Giants. The Carolina Panthers win in overtime against the Arizona Cardinals, 36-30. The Detroit Lions absolutely dismantled the Bears. Bears are terrible. Just like the Giants, they are playing for a higher draft stock. Nothing new on the Lions' part. Just another day for the Lions. They win 34-16. The Indianapolis Colts taking on the Tennessee Titans. Colts get the job done there. Rams get the job done against the Jets, 19-9. Washington handles the Philadelphia Eagles, 36-33. Thriller game, Devontae Adams, if you just don't drop that potentially game-winning touchdown pass from Jalen Hurts, they could have won that game. Washington played a great game. They win 36-33. My Cleveland Browns took on the Cincinnati Bengals. They lost 6-24. Just like the Panthers and the Giants, I hate to say it as a Browns fan, but we are terrible. We're just playing for a higher draft stock at this point in our season. There's always next season, as Cowboy fans say. Next year could be our year. The Vikings beat the Seahawks 27-24. Bills beat the Patriots 24-21. Josh Allen, in my eyes, he is the NFL MVP for this year. I understand Lamar Jackson's doing what he's doing, but in my eyes, this is Josh Allen's year. He's having a phenomenal year, especially with less weapons, significantly less weapons than Lamar Jackson. In my eyes, he's our NFL MVP. The Raiders beat the Jaguars, two teams fighting for higher draft stock. Raiders, I don't even know why you won this game. It hurts your draft stock, but you get the job done, I suppose, against the Jaguars, 19-14. The Miami Dolphins beat the brakes off of the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners, they're having an abysmal season for what they are. The Dolphins get the job done 29-17. And for your Sunday night football game, the Dallas Cowboys beat the Bucks 26-24. And to close off week 16, the Saints at Green Bay. So Green Bay absolutely dismantles the Saints 34-0. Nothing new, nothing special there. The Green Bay Packers, with that win, however, they solidify a seed in the playoffs. So good, congratulations to the Packers. You solidify yourselves in the playoffs. If you didn't get a chance to watch the two Christmas games yesterday, they were live on Netflix. Two Christmas Day games. Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Houston Texans, on both teams on a short week. Kansas City absolutely dismantles Pittsburgh Steelers 29-10. With that win, the Chiefs solidify themselves as the 1 seed in the AFC. Congratulations, Chiefs. You get that playoff bye, as well as being the 1 seed in the AFC. Baltimore Ravens absolutely destroy the Texans. Again, the Texans, they've just fallen off immensely since the injuries have settled in. No Stephon Diggs, CJ Stroud on a sophomore slump. No Tank Dell. That offensive line is abysmal. At this point, the Texans, they've just looked abysmal. Ravens, Lamar Jackson doing his thing. I understand he's got great numbers. He's putting up phenomenal stats. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins his third MVP. However, again, Josh Allen is the guy, in my opinion. He's the guy to win his first ever NFL MVP. But shout out to Lamar Jackson for doing his thing and leading the Ravens to a absolutely crushing win against the Houston Texans on Christmas Day. Kicking off Week 17, the Thursday night football game for tonight, Seattle Seahawks taking on the Chicago Bears. Bears are terrible, just playing for higher draft picks at this point. I expect Seattle to absolutely destroy the Bears and what could be a potentially boring, greedy game in Seattle's favor. There are 3 Saturday games going on, p.m., and the p.m. At 1 o'clock, the Chargers take on New England. I like the Chargers in that one. Better team overall, better coaching overall. He's got those boys rolling. He's got Justin Herbert looking good again, doing Justin Herbert things. Give me the Chargers over the Patriots. A potentially playoff crushing game for both teams if they lose. The Broncos take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals, they're competing with the Dolphins and the Colts for that final wild card spot. If the Bengals end up losing against Denver, they will be out of playoff contention. The Bengals, I'm taking you guys to get the job done in an upset against the Broncos and increasing your chances of making the playoffs and decreasing the Broncos' chances of making the playoffs. 8-10, the Rams taking on the Cardinals. Give me the Rams over the Cardinals. Better team overall, better coaching, better receivers, better quarterback play. Give me the Rams over the Cardinals. And for your Sunday slate of NFL games, give me the Colts over the Giants. The Giants are terrible. They're just fighting for the draft. Give me the Bills over the Jets. Another team fighting for the draft. Give me the Titans over the Jaguars. 2 mediocre teams at best. Shouldn't be anything exciting from that game. Give me the Saints over the Raiders. Raiders fighting for the draft. Give me the Bucks over the Panthers. Panthers fighting for the draft. And the Raiders fighting for a shot at the playoffs while also fighting for a shot at being division champions. They are currently tied at 8-7 with the Atlanta Falcons. My Cleveland Browns taking on the Miami Dolphins. Home game for the Cleveland Browns. As we all know, the Dolphins, they have a history of not being able to play in cold games, but it is of no secret that the Browns are the Browns, and we will somehow still find a way to lose this game. So I'm in my chest, I'm going the Browns, but realistically, the Dolphins are going to run away with this one. It's a 4 game. Green Bay taking on the Vikings. tough divisional game. Both teams are solid all around, solid quarterback play, solid coaching. Kevin O'Connell in the running for Coach of the Year in my eyes. But for my upset of the week, give me Green Bay over Minnesota. I just think Jordan Love is a much better athlete than Sam Darnold. Very young team, very good coaching on both sides. I like Matt LaFleur out coaching Kevin O'Connell in this game. Give me Green Bay over the Vikings in a very tough thriller divisional game. And to cap off your Sunday slate of NFL games, we have the Falcons taking on the Commanders, and I got the Commanders coming out of that one. Jaden Daniels solidifies himself as your Rookie of the Year. He's got great weapons, coached well. He's really revived what's been a terrible franchise up until this season. He's my Rookie of the Year. Give me the Commanders over the Falcons. And to cap off Week 17, Lions taking on San Fran. Give me the Lions in another Lions basic game. Another L in the 49ers books. Give me the Lions over the 49ers. And those are my predictions for this week's slate of NFL games. With that being said, the regular season is almost coming to an end. There's 1 week left. It's time to look ahead at who I think could be cemented in the NFL playoffs for the 2024 season, as well as taking a look at who currently is projected in the standings to make the NFL playoffs. With that being said, let's take a look at the NFL playoff standings right now. This is your 2024 NFL playoff picture for both the AFC and the NFC. So, the teams that have clinched a playoff spot so far are the 1 seed in the AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs. The Bills would be the 2 seed, AFC East champions. The Ravens would be the 3 seed, AFC North champions. And the Texans, despite having a fall off these past couple weeks, they would be the 4th seed as the AFC South champions. That division is kind of abysmal. The Texans are fortunate they play in the division that they do. I still think they're going to be one and done in the playoffs. The Steelers would be the 5th seed. They would finish 2nd in the AFC North. Again, these are all the standings as of right now. Obviously, they could change week in and week out. There are some major playoff games. There are some major playoff hopeful teams playing this week. There are some games that obviously could shift the playoffs immensely. The teams that are in the hunt currently right now are the Chargers and the Broncos. If the Broncos lose against Cincinnati, they have a 59% chance of being in the playoffs. If the Chargers beat the Patriots, they have a 99% chance of getting in. If they beat the Patriots, which I think they will. If they lose, they have an 84% chance. If the Broncos lose again to the Bengals, they have a 59% chance. They currently sit at a 75% chance of making the playoffs. They are the 6th and 7th seed as of right now. On the bubble, as of right now, the 3 teams that are still in the running are the Colts at 8, the Dolphins at 9, and the Bengals are at 10. Obviously, it's a 3-way race between those teams. A lot needs to happen for certain teams in that race to make the playoffs. Obviously, all 3 of the teams have to win out, as well as get some assistance from other teams. And your eliminated teams on the AFC side are the Jets, Browns, Jags, Raiders, and Patriots. Nothing new there. So as of right now, your 1 through 7 seed are the Chiefs at 1, the Bills at 2, Ravens at 3, Texans at 4, Steelers at 5, and the Chargers and the Broncos. Chargers at 6 and the Broncos at 7. That is your AFC playoff picture as of right now. Moving to the NFC, obviously your clinched spots are the Lions at 1. They would be the 1 seed. They would finish first in the NFC North. The Eagles would be the 2 seed. They would finish first in the NFC East. The Vikings right now are lined up to be the 5th seed, they would finish 2nd in the NFC North, and the Packers are lined up right now at the 6th seed. They would finish 3rd. The NFC North this year has been stacked, so I'm not surprised that the Vikings and the Packers are as low as they are despite having double digits in the winning column. The teams in the hunt right now, the Rams are projected to be the 3rd seed. They would finish 1st in the NFC West. The Falcons are projected to be the 4th seed. They would finish first in the NFC South. Just like the AFC South, the Falcons and the Bucks, they are fortunate to be in the division that they are, because if either one of those teams get in over the other, I think they're both going to be first round exits right off the bat. And the Commanders are the final seed in the hunt. They are projected to be the 7th seed. They would finish 2nd in the NFC East. There are only two teams on the bubble in the NFC, the Buccaneers and the Seahawks. The Seahawks are projected 9th right now, and the Bucs are projected 8th. So it's a two-man race between those teams. The Buccaneers take on Carolina. I think they'll have no problem handling Carolina. If the Buccaneers win, they have a 62% chance of making the playoffs, and if they lose, a 13% chance. And the Panthers, I'm not going to lie, they have looked pretty hot lately since Bryce Young has stepped at the helm at quarterback, but the Buccaneers are just the better team overall. I think they can get the job done. No worries that they don't beat the Panthers. And the Seahawks, they take on, again, the Bears tonight at 8:15. If they win, they only have a 15% chance. And if they lose, they have a 13% chance. So right now, as it stands, the Buccaneers and the Seahawks the Buccaneers are your 8th seed, and the Seahawks are your 9th seed. And the eliminated teams in the NFC are the Cowboys, Cardinals, Niners, Saints, Bears, and Panthers. And the Giants. Nothing out of the ordinary in your eliminated section. Moving back to the AFC, I think 1 through 5 is about accurate. I have the Chiefs. The Chiefs are obviously the 1 seed. Bills 2 seed, nothing wrong with that. Ravens 3 seed, nothing wrong with that. Texans, again, 1 through 5, there's nothing really wrong with that. And the hunt is where things get tricky, because all these teams on the bubble could still make that push. Again, they'd have to have help from some other teams, and they'd obviously have to win out. But with the appropriate help, and if these two teams in particular, in my mind, if these two teams in particular win out, those teams being the Dolphins and the Bengals, I think they could both sneak in over possibly the Broncos and the Chargers if they win out, and if the Chargers and Broncos both lose a game. I think the Bengals could sneak in, as well as the Dolphins sneaking in. So, in my mind, my projected playoffs for the AFC side is Chiefs 1, Bills 2, Ravens 3, Texans 4, Steelers 5, and for my final two teams, Dolphins at either 6 or 7, and the Bengals at either 6 or 7. I think the Dolphins and the Bengals are capable of winning out, and I think they are more than capable of getting in over the Broncos and the Chargers, despite both teams being 9 and 6 right now. But I think it is possible with the appropriate help, and I know for a fact that the Bengals and the Dolphins could win out. So that is my projected AFC playoff standings. I got the Dolphins and the Bengals sneaking in over the Chargers and the Broncos. Again, with the right help from other teams, and obviously they need to win out, but I think they're more than capable of doing so. My projected NFC standings, on the other hand, is a little bit different. Obviously, the Lions, I think, are going to clinch the 1 seed. Nothing wrong there. The Eagles 2 seed, nothing wrong there. Vikings being the 5th seed, nothing wrong there. There's no real, other than the Packers, but the Packers are good in and of themselves. There's no real competition for the 5th and the 6th seed. Rams projected to be the 3 seed, nothing wrong there. That's a tight division, because you have so many teams that are good in the NFC West, but I think the Rams, they've got all their pieces back. Sean McVay is a great coach. I have no doubt that the Rams will lock up that third seed and win that division. Falcons and the Bucks, I think, is a bit trickier. I I personally think the Falcons, even if the Bucks win out, and if the Falcons win out, they would be 10-7 each. What's tricky though is the Falcons already have those two wins against the Buccaneers from early on in the season. So regardless of what happens, the Falcons pretty much have the fourth seed on locks if they win, as long as they win out. And if the Bucks win out, again, they got that tiebreaker in their favor because they already beat the Bucks weeks prior early on in the season. So the Falcons will most likely have the fourth seed on locks. And the Commanders at 7, again, there's no real competition for the seventh seed. The Seahawks, they're not going to make it because of how tight the Rams have that division right now. Really there's really no competition for that seventh seed. So, in my eyes, the projected NFC standings right now for the playoffs: Lions 1, Eagles 2, Rams would be 3. Rams would be the 3 seed. The Falcons, again, they pretty much have the 4th seed on locks unless they don't win out. And if the Bucks win out, in that case they would flip-flop and the Bucks would get in because they would win. They obviously would have won the division. But I don't see that happening. So the Falcons pretty much have the 4th seed on locks in my eyes. Vikings at 5 and the Packers at 6. And the only in the hunt team is the Commanders, and there's no other real team in contention for that spot. So for me, it would be Lions 1, Eagles 2, Rams 3, Falcons 4, Vikings 5, Packers 6, Commanders 7th. That is my NFC playoff picture. Again, there's still 2 weeks of football left to be played. Well, really 1 week now because this is week 17. So there's still lots of football left to be played. Obviously, certain games are going to dictate the playoff standings over other games, like the Broncos-Bengals game. That's a huge playoff shifting game right there. Obviously, again, those certain teams are going to need help from other teams, and there are also certain teams are going to have to win out over other teams. But those are the standings in my eyes for the AFC playoff picture and the NFC playoff picture. I think there are teams that are capable again with the Dolphins and the Bengals. I think they're more than capable of winning out their games. It's just a matter of will they get the help that they need to make the AFC playoffs. That remains to be seen. And again, there's no real competition in the NFC for the 7th seed. Really, the only tricky seeding for in the NFC is the 4th seed because again, the Falcons, if they don't win out, but the Bucks do win out, the Bucks are going to get in over the Falcons. But if they both win out, then the Bucks obviously lose that tiebreaker because they lost twice in the regular season to the Falcons. So again, there's a lot of different ways that certain teams can get in both conferences. There's a lot of help that will need to be done for certain teams to get in, but I think certain teams are more than capable of getting in, and other teams not so much. As far as the draft picture, the NFL draft picture goes, as of right now, the Giants have the number 1 draft pick right now. Excuse me, Giants have the number 1 draft pick right now. The Patriots right now have the 2nd pick. Jacksonville has the 3rd pick. My Cleveland Browns have the 4th pick. Titans have the 5th pick. The Raiders have the 6th pick. The Jets have the 7th pick. And the Panthers have the 8th. The Bears have the 9th pick. The Saints have the 10th pick. And those are your as of right now, your top 10 in the NFL for the NFL 2025 draft. As of right now, those are the top 10. Again, those could change over time. There's still lots of football left to be played. But as of right now, those are your projected 2025 NFL draft holders right now. But that is my prediction on Week 17. there's your Week 16 little recap. That I'm again, as far as the playoff picture goes for both sides, there's lots of things that could change over time. There are lots of upsets that could happen over time. But I still think the teams that I have in my eyes, I still think they have shots at making it over others. It's going to be an interesting final stretch, again, as some teams have notches over others. However, those same teams are going to need help from other teams. But that's my prediction on the current NFL 2024 season playoff rankings. I'll catch you guys Sunday for episode 3. I'll catch you guys that following Thursday for episode 4. Again, if you haven't gotten a chance to check out episode 1, it's still up on the official Spotify page and the official YouTube page. Please feel free to watch that episode. I'll catch you guys Sunday. As always, the game never ends here at the Life's Playbook podcast. This show's going to keep getting better and better. I'll keep implementing better and newer things as the show progresses. And again, this isn't just an experience for me, it's an experience for you guys. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys on Sunday for episode 3. And before I forget, I know it's kind of late, Christmas is already gone, but Merry Christmas. I'll see you guys Sunday.